What's up guys, Misha here from Beyond the Huddle and welcome to this week's altcoin forecast. As always guys, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, we greatly appreciate that, and make sure you click the notification bell so you can get notified every single time we drop a new video. So with that being said guys, let's go ahead and get this video started. Okay, so first off, we are going to do some sentiment analysis using our SMI. So we're going to be able to see exactly what's happening on the spot market. Is the market in an accumulation phase or is it in a distribution phase? So looking at the latest data that came in through our Discord here, we can see that on the long-term sentiment, we can see that there's distribution happening. The distribution happening at this high right here after we have had massive accumulation down here, massive accumulation here that caused these moves higher. And now we're starting to see distribution on the long-term SMI. Now looking at the short-term SMI, we can see that the short-term matches with some distribution as well. So that was pretty nice area for you to be looking for short positions if you wanted to be a seller. And we actually had one of the members in our group that actually caught a sell on ETH based off of this data right here. So you guys can see how important it is to understand whether the market is in accumulation or distribution, because if you know it's already in distribution and then whatever pattern that you look for in the market, you can actually use that to be able to enter your positions with a lot more confidence because you know exactly what's happening in terms of accumulation and distribution. So right now what we're seeing is distribution on both the long term and the short term. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the COT report to see what exactly the smart money had been up to the past week. Alright guys, we're now looking at the ETH COT report, and this is as of February 22nd of 2022. That was Tuesday of last week, and we can see that the asset managers kept their long at 0 and then they added 47 short contracts. Okay, so let's take a look at that on the actual chart so you guys can see the data through the BTH COT indicator. And here we have the percentage longs and shorts, which is still at 100%. And then we can see that the shorts have actually gone back above the average. Okay, so that's very, very important here because that's one of the things that we were talking about last week as to whether or not we were going to see shorts decline back down below the average or we were going to see them go back above the average. And what happened is they actually went back above the average and it kept on increasing. So right now, what this is telling us is that whatever move higher is happening is potentially a fake move higher, and we could potentially see the market start to roll over. Now, we're seeing confirmation of that through the SMI. We're seeing distribution on the SMI, so there's a lot of distribution in the spot market. So that could be added confluence to this CO2 report. However, one thing to keep in mind with this specific report is that it is not taking into account the Ukraine invasion that happened last week, because the invasion happened on Wednesday night, New York time, and the report was from Tuesday. Okay, so we don't know yet what they've been doing based on that invasion right there. So tomorrow's report, tomorrow's Friday, so we'll get a new report tomorrow, and that report will include their reshuffling of their position or whatever it is that they did based on the invasion. So we'll have a better idea of what exactly these guys are thinking. But based on what we currently have, this is definitely telling us that we should potentially see price roll over to the downside. So now let's go ahead and actually look at the price action. Okay, so we're starting with ETHBTC as always. And guys, this pair is still stuck within that same range. We have swing low, swing high right here. We're still stuck within that range we can see that we have a massive down week so far. Now when we go down into a daily time frame, we can see that based on what we were looking at last week, we had actually bounced off of the daily demand right here. We saw a massive move to the upside, but then guess what? That move fizzled out, and now we're seeing price come down. So at that point, I don't really expect this daily demand to hold. Now I'm really looking at prices potentially coming down into the previous year's value area high, which is here, and then also this daily demand down here. If we go, and you guys can see we're below the weekly open and below the monthly open. When we go down into a 4 hour and we start looking at the monthly volume profile, we can see that we're already bear trending on this month. We're definitely bear trending on the quarterly. We can see, sorry, we're definitely consolidating on the quarterly because we've been inside this quarterly for quite a while. The USD price is the one that's bear trending. So we're definitely in a consolidation phase within the previous quarter's value. And that kind of explains what we've been seeing price go pretty much sideways for the past month and a half or so, right? So going back into the 4 hour, when we were looking at the previous month's value, you guys can see that we're definitely below the value area low. That means we're bear trending. We're expecting lower prices. And when we go down into the weekly, we can see the same thing. We're actually bear trending. Now, if you guys remember what we spoke about last week, we were talking about prices. So this is what we were looking at last week. So this is Sunday, this is Saturday, Friday, so it's Thursday. This is where we were at when we were talking about it. And we were saying that if we could reclaim back this value area low here, which we eventually did around here, and price kept on going, and where did it go to? Previous week's value area high. That was the value area high at the time of the previous week. And then we saw the massive drop. And now we're even below the previous week's value area low. So we're definitely bear trending. Now, am I saying that we are going to see some massive move to the upside or to the downside? Absolutely not. Like I said, this thing's been in a consolidation for quite a little while now. So I don't really have a strong bias on this specific pair right here. However, if I had to lean on a direction, I would be picking the downside. So I would be looking at a return back to this 3-day demand here, and then eventually coming down into previous year's value low, and then this daily demand down here. That's what I'd be looking at on Ethereum BTC. If we look at the 3-day profile, we can see that we have used the 3-day value low as support. And then now if we look at the daily, we can see we're bear trending on the daily. So if we can break this 3-day value low right here, I would expect continuation to the downside. So that's what I'm seeing on ETHBTC. Now let's go ahead and take a look at ETHUSD. All right, guys, we are now looking at ETHUSD, and what I wanted to show you guys on this specific chart is I put this line right here. This is February's open, because last week we were talking about that open as a key area, and we were saying that if we saw price go above that open, which it did, because we were talking about that on the 24th, what we wanted to see is whether or not the asset managers were gonna keep on increasing shorts, in which case we would expect this area right here, these 2 down candles, this supply area, to hold as resistance. And that's exactly what happened, right? We said if that happened, we would expect it to hold as resistance. However, if they were adding longs here, then we would expect price to go up to this area right here. So what they did was add short. So we were expecting this to happen based on the data. And another confluence that we had around this area was, this is the previous year's value area high. You guys can see that right here. This is what we're using as resistance here. And when we drop down into a 15-minute time frame, and we look at the 3-day value area, we can see that this is the previous 3-day value area high. We're definitely seeing resistance up here. So that was definitely a lot of confluence, along with the SMI that was showing distribution around that area. So that's pretty much what we're seeing play out right now. So what could we potentially expect next? Now we have this candle right here, this down candle, price went higher. So there's definitely a demand area. Now, how do we know whether this demand area is going to hold or not? Well, the first thing we're going to need to see is we're going to need to see accumulation on the SMI. So right now, the SMI is not showing accumulation yet. It has been showing us distribution. So at the moment, I have no reason to believe that this area is going to hold. Now, the second thing we're going to need to see is the COT report tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow's Friday, 3:30 p.m. We'll get a new COT report. And based on what we see from that report, we'll have an idea as to whether or not this low that we see form here is going to hold, or whether or not we're going to see price start to roll over back to the downside. Because if they don't add any longs here, guys, it's very unlikely that this low is going to hold, because as we've seen in the past, the only times that the price start to trend, like we saw here and then like we saw here, is when they have longs in the market. But at the moment, they have 0 longs. So right now, we would be expecting lower prices. Now, what type of confluence do we have within this area right here in terms of support areas? Well, we have the previous week's value area high. And as you guys can see right now, we are trying to break below that. So again, I'm not expecting that to hold at the moment based on what I've seen on the SMI and on the COT. However, if the SMI starts to show accumulation, like I said, that might be able to change. So let me get rid of this line here. That was the previous month's open. That was February's open. So if we continue to break below this right here, we would be expecting prices to come down into this area right here around the 2560s, which is also the previous month's value area low. So if we break this 3 months value area low right here, guys, then I'm definitely 100% bearish on this, because we'd be bear trending here, and we'd expect lower prices down into this weekly demand, which is also 2 months ago's value area low. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing here. Now, if we start to see accumulation on the SMI while we're within this daily demand, and we see that asset managers have added longs, then that's a different story. Then we'd be looking for long opportunities that would take us up into this 3-day supply up here. However, at the moment, that's not what I'm seeing. I would favor the downside, and I would be looking for prices to, one, come down to the previous week, which is also previous month value low around 2560s, and then for prices to come down into the 2167s. That is the 2 months ago's value low, and that's also a weekly demand that had been hit, and eventually come down to this 3-day demand right here. And one of the main reasons why I am favoring the downside, it's twofold, guys. It's one, that we're seeing asset managers are still short, and number two, we are rejecting the previous year's value area high right here. So that's telling me that we're very likely going to continue to consolidate within the previous year's value, and we could see a drop down into this area, eventually maybe into this point of control. So that's what I got for you guys for today on Ethereum. Hopefully you guys got some value from this. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you're interested in joining our free Discord server, there's going to be a link down below in the description. You guys can come in, hang out with us, talk about COT, talk about volume profile, whatever it is you want to talk about. Also, if you're interested in any of those indicators that you saw me use here, whether it's the volume profile, the COT, or maybe even the USDT bias indicator that Ralphie uses in the Bitcoin videos, there's also going to be a link down below where you guys can access our indicator suite or trading view indicator suite for a 7-day free trial. So make sure to check that out. Link is down below in the description. And with that said, guys, I will see you all in the next video. Peace.